What's going on, guys? It's Trey from Forge Sports Media. We're going to do a little in the bag today, show you guys what I'm going to be throwing for the 2024 season. We'll start out with the putters, like everyone does. For my putting putters, I putt the JK Pro AVR. Always keep two in the bag. Really like this mold. I was putting a different putter for a while, and I needed to make a change. And I went into the store and felt every putter that was in the store, like every putting putter, and I landed back on the AVR. I've never putted AVRs in my 10 years of playing disc golf, but they felt great. I like the gumminess of the JK plastic, and I've been putting really well with them. So awesome putters. And then for my throwing putters, we'll go Overstable. I've only got two backhand ones. Overstable, I've got the Aiden Scott PA1. It's in 500 plastic. This thing is nice and overstable, holds a hyzer line really well. You can throw some baby flexes with it, but for me, a left hand, backhand, it does get some good left to right movement. And then from the understable side, I've got a Clash Popcorn with this sick Charizard stamp. This thing came to me used, so it has a little less stability than a typical popcorn. This one is a little more on the understable side for me. I can throw some hyzer flips with it. I can throw some turning shots, but it flies really smooth and really far. Really like the popcorn. And then for my forehand, I have this Vibram VP. Don't see a lot of people throwing Vibram anymore, but this is just like a slower zone for me. You'll see my zones later. But just a slower zone, pretty straight for this. I've had this disc for almost the whole time I've been playing disc golf, been in and out of my bag. But I rely on it for just more approaches. I don't ever use this off the tee. But if I need to throw something forehand like 125 to 150 feet, this is what I'm going for. Moving on to the approach discs, like I mentioned, I've got a couple of zones. I've got two Get Freaky Crystal Flex zones. I keep two in the bag just because I can't live without this disc. Most of my approaches are going to be made with the zone. Forehand, I'll even throw them on some hyzer backhands now as I'm becoming more confident with my backhand. But the zone is just like a notorious, fantastic disc. And I feel like the Get Freaky Crystal Flex ones are just more overstable and they play to my game really well. So I'm going to use those. If I need something with a touch less stability, but a little further than the VP, I'll reach for my Clash Mint. This is the Evan Smith Tour Series in the Sunny plastic. Really like this disc. It is a little more neutral than the zone, flies a little bit straighter, but does have some good torque resistance, so it's really nice on the forehand. So that is the Clash Mint. Then going on to mid-ranges. Mid-ranges aren't a huge part of my game, but I do have four in the bag right now. Starting with the most understable, got a Mint Lobster. This disc has taught me how to throw the right to left backhand. It's not really a shot I've ever had before. I use this a lot getting out of jail in the woods. I'll use it for patent pending shots. Pretty much anytime I need something to go left and I don't have a forehand gap or a forehand, like an out to throw a forehand, I'll throw the Lobster. And then the next step up in stability, a new disc in my bag that I'm excited to get used to is the Clash Disc Cherry. This is going to be just a step up in stability from the Lobster. Going to be very straight, get some hyzer flips with it. It's not a disc that I've gotten to throw a ton, but with the new mystery box that came out with Clash discs, I picked this up and it just feels really great in the hand. The steady plastic always feels amazing. I can't wait to get more comfortable with the Cherry. And then probably my go-to mid-range is my Scott Wither Tour Series Sunnyberry. Just very straight, holds the angle that you throw it on. You can throw it on hyzer and it'll go right. If you throw it on Andy, it'll go left. It's really similar to a Buzz, in my opinion, but it's got a touch more glide. And I really enjoy that because I can get a little more distance out of it. And then on the overstable side, I don't really forehand any mid-ranges. I just prefer the zones. The zones do what I need them to do, and the zones in the Mint But I do have a Guava. I had a Buzz OS in this slot, but really love the feel of the Guava. Again, I think Clash has some of the best plastic in the game, and the Guava is just a nice step up from that berry. Good complement. I don't have a ton of power on my backhand, so I don't need a ton of overstability, and so the Guava will just slot in perfectly for my hyzer backhand shots. And then we'll move on to my fairways. We'll start kind of in this 7-speed slot. I do have one Clash Soda in the steady plastic. This is one of those prototype runs. This is my Grape Fanta. One of my go-tos here. Hyzer flip backhands. Don't really throw a forehand at all, but like just a really solid straight to understable fairway for my game. Like I said, I don't have a ton of power on my backhand, but this disc has served me pretty well in that slot. Then I have one of my favorite discs. I've got 3 cookies. Got this new bar stamp one. This is going to be my kind of middle stability cookie. I pretty much exclusively throw this one forehand for some straighter forehand shots. It's, again, new in the bag, so it's going to be that neutral stability. It hasn't been beat up as much. It is in steady, so it's not going to be as overstable as the James Proctor Sunny cookie. Sometimes the names get confusing. But the Sunny cookie is board flat. I don't know if you can see that really well on the screen there, but it is board flat and very overstable. And it's been great for flex forehands, flat hyzer forehands. So this is my most overstable and probably my most used cookie for the forehand. And then on the understable side, I have this beat-in prototype cookie. It's in steady plastic. It's a little more on the understable side. I can throw this one backhand for some flex shots. And then if I need something on a forehand to go right, I'll use the cookie. Really love the cookie. Clash really knocked it out of the park with that disc. It's the best 7-speed forehand disc I've ever thrown. So for what it's worth, I really like the cookie. And then another new disc to the bag. And you gotta have a little flair in your bag always. And so I've got the double steady cinnamon. This is another new disc to my bag. The cinnamon's a pretty straight fairway driver. Haven't got a ton of time with this one yet, but it feels really great in the hand. Got a nice dome to it. I'd say this will be a backhand disc for me, with a little bit of overstability, maybe to partner well with that beat up cookie. And I mean, look at it. This double steady plastic feels great. The overmold isn't like it doesn't bother grip or anything like that, but it just feels good and looks incredible. So there's the double steady cinnamon. Only one 9-speed in the. I take that back. I have 2 9-speeds in the bag. I've got my beat up Discraft Raptor in the ESP plastic. This thing's been in my bag for years. It's board flat, which is really nice for my forehand. It's actually a pretty straight disc for me at this point on the forehand, but it is just kind of like a staple in my bag. When I'm having a bad round, I like to go back to basics and kind of go back to discs that I'm comfortable with, that I'm familiar with. And so you'll notice that throughout my bag, there's a few discs that I just kind of have kept in the bag for those moments where I'm like, okay, I know how this Raptor flies. So this Raptor will probably never leave my bag unless it just becomes like unthrowable. But really love the Raptor. Discraft knocked it out with this one. And then this is a cool disc for me. When I started playing in 2014, I got to run a tournament at my high school, and we got a custom run of Prodigy discs, and this is an F3. I believe it's in 400 plastic, but with the sick Baylor stamp. Shout out to David Lane for getting this set up and Scott Snow. But this F3 is really straight. Can kind of throw it backhand and forehand. Kind of get a similar flight both ways. And so highly recommend the F3. I don't know if they make them like this anymore, but this is an awesome run of those. And then up here in my utility slot, I've got a Fireball from Axiom discs. Got the little orange and white UT going on there. Just really overstable. Use it for big flex shots on the forehand or something where I need a skip shot to go into the left. That's when I'll break the Fireball out. And then for my 10 speeds, I've got 2 of those. Got very understable. Got the Tumbleweed from Lone Star. This is exclusively used for forehand rollers. I can throw this thing flat and it just gets down, and it's a perfect forehand roller disc. Chandler Kramer, not on Lone Star anymore, but he made this disc famous with his forehand rollers. So I had to try it, and I mean, the hype is real. This disc is awesome for the forehand roller. Lone Star knocked it out there. And then on the Overstable side, I got to shout out my boy Eric Oakley with his Tour Series Spice. The stamps is super cool here. The multicolored stamp, got the gold and white and black with his signature there. This is a nice compliment. It's a little faster and a little more overstable than my Raptor. And so this in the wind is an excellent wind fighter. I can use this to throw, again, some flex shots, but also I use this a lot when I need to throw a high forehand because it seems to fight the wind really well, and then you get a really nice finish out of it. So that's the Spice. And then on to my distance drivers. Got a nice little variety here. On the Understable side, I have a MVP Wave. This is exclusively a backhand disc for me. It's my backhand distance driver. Don't have a ton of distance. I can throw it maybe 300 feet when I get a really solid throw, maybe a little bit further, but consistently getting about 270 to 280 feet with it. Just a really great disc, really neutral flyer. I can crank on it and it holds the line really nicely. But yeah, the Wave is a really awesome disc. I feel like a lot of folks who are learning to throw backhand could really benefit from throwing a Wave. And then the most surprising disc in my bag, I feel like, is this Clash Discs Vanilla. I picked this up as to be the understable complement to my Wave, and immediately figured out that it's this particular run, the white vanillas, are kind of like neutral to maybe even like, you could even say stable. I throw this disc forehand, and it's a hyzer flip. It's a straight shooter. I'm definitely not going to throw any hyzer bombs or anything like that with it, but it has some really nice torque resistance, and typically with an understable disc on a forehand, a lot of times it just takes a lot of finesse, a lot of touch, and you can't really like throw it flat. Like, you have to throw hyzer flips because of the torque resistance. This disc has a nice torque resistance to it. And so I kind of fell in love with it. I begged Thomas to give me his, but I wound up picking up a couple more just so I could roll with mine and have a backup just in case. But really like the vanilla. If you're a forehand player looking for something that you can throw straight and throw it with some touch and still get that torque resistance, I'd highly recommend getting a Clash Vanilla. And then speaking of discs, I did not expect to like forehanding. Never in a million years would I thought a James Conrad disc would be a forehand disc, but here we are. Got the MVP Zenith. This is going to fly similar to a Wraith in a lot of ways, but for me, the flat top is what really sold it for me. I love a flat disc on a forehand. And so when I picked up the Zenith, I was like, oh man, that feels really good, but I'm sure it doesn't fly great on a forehand. But it does. It flies really straight with some overstability at the end. I use this a lot to shoot gaps in the woods. And when I just need a controlled distance shot, the Zenith is typically what I'm going for. Then on to I'd say the big boys. These 4 are kind of like my max distance drivers. Similar to my Raptor, I've got just kind of a staple that's been in my bag for years is this Star Tevil from Inova. Tevil, not a super popular mold. I've only seen a handful of pros throw it, maybe even just a couple. And this thing used to be extremely overstable. when I first got it. The Tevils are notorious for being kind of similar to X-Cals in reality. A little more overstable than their numbers would indicate. But this one obviously is, you know, has seen better days. It's got some gouges in it, and it's just a really straight disc. And again, when I'm having a bad round and I'm like, you know, a couple bad holes and I'm like just needing to get back to my basics, if I'm going to throw a distance shot, it's going to be with this because I know exactly what this disc does when I throw it every single time. And then I have 2 salts, both in the steady plastic. I got this orange one. It's got a little bit of a dome to it. Not really, not too bad. But unlike most of my drivers, I don't mind the dome on this one. It flies really nice for the forehand. It's my go-to distance. I mean, I'm not shredding the courses. I'm throwing like, you know, max 330, 340 on my forehands. But this, if I'm going to throw a disc that far, it's going to be with this one. Or this one. The salt's just a really like awesome flyer for the forehand. This one's a little flatter. I can throw bigger shots with this one typically, but it is a little more overstable, so I do have to rip on it a little bit more, which makes it a little more finicky for the forehand. So a lot of times you'll see me reach for the orange one for some more comfort. And last but not least, my newest disc is the Clash Disc Sage. This is a really unique feeling disc. It's nice and flat as well, which checks off one of the boxes for me. But it's got the lip. I don't know if you can see that. It raises up in a way that I've not really ever seen from a disc before, at least not a distance driver. And it makes it extremely comfortable for my hands. I've got some thick fingers, and so sometimes these like low profile discs like don't always feel super great in my hand for the forehand. But this one actually, like, the lip really helps. I don't know if can you see it? Let's see.
We're low battery mode rolling in. We're good.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
but
see that.
I think that's important to see, especially for forehand players. But the Sage, I think, is just going to be a little more overstable than the Salt based on the numbers. And I think it's got a touch more glide. And I think this disc might, you know, on the right line, might outfly my Salts. So I'm really excited to break this one out. Should be a good wind fighter. But overall, I'm super excited about throwing it some more. But that is my bag for the 2024 season.
Wait, what is your bag for the 2024 season?
Oh, yeah. I've got the Squatch bag. Let's see if I've got any fun things in it. The Squatch bag is awesome. It's super lightweight, holds a ton of discs, holds whatever I need. Got an Inova towel attached here. Let's see what goodies I've got. Probably not too much in here right now. Oh, I do have my rangefinder, Bushnell rangefinder. Super solid. If you're playing a course that's, you know, got some par 4s and stuff and you don't know your distances, it's nice to have that. And I always keep a chalk bag as well. Got to keep those hands dry for those forehands. So you'll see me break that out pretty often. But yeah, that's my in the bag. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.